find out how Calvin and Hobbes can make you a very, very powerful, imaginative, and creative adult. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumedh Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. In this video today, I'm speaking about one of my favorite comic books of all time by Bill Watterson, Calvin and Hobbes, okay? I used to have a stuffed toy tiger as well, you can see up there, right? His name is Timbo, and I got him when I was very, very obsessed about this comic book, really. So you see right here, I have a lot of them. Attack of the Deranged Mutant Killer Monsters, Snow Goons, Something Under the Bed is Drooling, it's one of the collections. I used to also read it in the Sunday comics too. Weirdos from Another Planet, the original one, which is called Calvin and Hobbes. This was the bestseller. You Can Ho, and Homicidal Psycho Jungle Cat, okay? So, man, there's something about this book particularly, and also the fact that, you know, I had a heritage to India, and the tiger was just the national animal, you know, the Royal Bengal tiger, that too, and I'm Bengali, so, from Kolkata, right? Let's just see one of these. So he asks his dad, what causes wind? He says, trees sneezing. He says, really? He says, no, but the truth is more complicated. And so then he says, man, the trees are really sneezing today. The thing that I really liked about Calvin and Hobbes is the childlike innocence mixed with the adult world, the adult sensibility, the vocabulary, right? The extensive, like, perplexing kind of thought process, right? Because Calvin had a very childlike mind with an adult thought process, and I thought that was very, very powerful. It's like he was an intellectual, and he had all this childlike creativity, and like he would talk about things like, you know, boogers and superheroes and all the childish things. However, at the same time, there was a very, very unique perspective, you could say. And that's what really helped me to understand that, okay, Calvin is a very interesting character, right? He had this one friend called Susie, you know, and I believe her name was Susie, right? And Hobbes was this imaginary tiger. However, the way that he perceived the world, he wasn't imaginary, he was a real tiger. But everybody else perceived it as this tiger was imaginary, right? So everybody else in the world saw him as just a soft toy tiger, but to Calvin, he was an actual friend, and he was an actual comrade, an ally, right, in his life that would actually help him through different situations. And there would be these powerful moments where he would start to fight with Hobbes too, right? There used to be this kind of tension between the characters, and I think that added a layer of depth to the comic book. Now, why do I think this is so important for kids to read when they're younger? Well, first of all, you're going to improve your vocabulary, and you're going to really, really get inspired by the imagination. I think the imagination is one of these things in this book that breaks you out of the reality that's happening, right? So at times you'll see Calvin turn into a fish, or traveling the world and he's going somewhere else, or he's on his, you know, he's Spaceman Spiff and he's just like traveling around. These moments, these breaks from reality really gets you to consider the childlike world of imagination. And it's not just a childlike world, right? Imagination can be tapped into any time. However, kids have more of an access to it because it's a theta wave state. And so when you can actually use Calvin's strength of going into his inner world and actually finding ways to make school exciting for him, or to, you know, be able to bring him out of some kind of argument or chaos that he's having. And when you start reading this over and over again, you get really attached to the characters, right? The mom, the dad in this storyline, right? Also the fact that Calvin was an only child, I really resonated with that because I was an only child growing up. they were sweet comics, man. They were sweet comics, and they touched my heart at times, very randomly. Like, I would get emotional reading one of the strips because it had a mix of humor, but also it got serious at times in the storyline. Where, he mentioned that, oh, this bird died and he was taking care of it. I actually had an incident in my life where I had accidentally killed a bird as well, and I had to bury it in my backyard, right? So, me reading this comic book, there was this deep pull on my heartstring on certain aspects that happened throughout the comic. And I know this is kind of a personal video, but I think it's very powerful to be able to recognize that, hey, Calvin is an advanced manifester in a sense, where he's pulling from his imaginations and his memories, and he's making the most of his life. He's not bored, right? And when he is bored, he always finds something to do. And I think that's a very powerful mindset to have, to be able to really change around what you're doing, right? Like, I'll give you another example how I can apply it to my real life, because I noticed that this book had very, very deep, profound impact on my personality and the way that I started to behave when I was younger. So I was a hyper creative child, first and foremost, right? Just completely creative, always creating, always writing, always doing things. Actually, when I started reading this comic, I started to draw my own comics after a certain point too. And I remember in middle school, I had something called Adam and Sumet's Comic Corner, where we created like different characters and stuff like this. Secret agent, like one big fat superhero, like all these little characters we would draw. And it was fun, it was really fun. I remember there was another one where he had this transmogrifier thing, which he made out of cardboard, right? That actually inspired me to make different electronic devices out of cardboard. I saw that all my friends had like mobile phones, or some of them had really cool gadgets. I didn't even care to follow that, you know what I mean? Right, I remember, man, I would bring like this cardboard box phone that I made, and I like drew on the different letters and numbers, and I remember I wrote it as ABCD instead of the way that it's written on a computer, which is QWER, QWERTY or whatever, right, QWER. Instead of that, I wrote it as ABCD, and it was very difficult for people to be like, dude, why did you write it like this? Like, everybody knows the computers have it like, QWER, right? Like, why would you just write the alphabet down on this cardboard, right? They saw it as ridiculous. I saw it as absolute genius, because nobody's ever done this before, right? And it was in middle school, and I was kind of using it as an actual gadget, like contacting aliens with it or whatever, right? And everybody else thought that I was weird. Honestly, they thought that, what are you doing? That's just a cardboard box, right? They didn't have the imagination to play along with my mindset. But I think that over the years I started to learn that this was actually a powerful skill set, because nobody else can tap into this skill set of just visualizing, closing your eyes, and actually being there and imagining and role playing and playing along with this. And that's what inspired my book TPM as well. It has a lot to do with that factor, right, of imagination and tapping into this realm. So I owe a lot of my success to Calvin and Hobbes, and thank you, Bill Watterson, for actually putting this artwork out there so people, especially kids, can learn from this and gain a wide vocabulary and start to really learn that, hey, it's fun to be a kid, it's fun to be goofy and like dance around, and maybe you break a plate or you have disgusting lunch from the lunch lady. However, at the same time, you're still doing what you need to do, and you're always finding missions each and every day with your best friend. And I didn't have a best friend growing up. I had to invent one, just like Calvin did, right? Of course, I had a few best friends. Like, I remember Adam being one of my friends, Nathan being one of my friends. I always had that one friend who was also very, let's say, hyper attuned, you could say. These people were highly imaginative, right? They would go into these imagination realms very quickly. And bros, if you're watching this, still love you guys. Reach out, Adam and Nathan. But yeah, man, I think that this is an extremely powerful work of art. And if you can understand a deeper lens about this comic book, you're going to explore a lot of the human psyche. So if you guys love this comic book, if you've read it, let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up. Let's get it today. Upward Spiral gang. May you never be the same again. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. Let's get it today. Boom.